Recording in progress.
All right, good morning, everyone. Let's call court to order. Today is Tuesday, August the 22nd. It's 9 a.m. Proof of posting, please.
The agenda was posted on Friday, August 2023 at 1:15 p.m.
Thank you. All right, let's stand briefly for a moment of silence, and then we'll have a pledge to the flags. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pledge to the Texas flag. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. All right, this time, if there's any members of the audience that want to speak to the court on public matters, please do so at this time. Okay. Seeing none, I'd like to go to under items D, under proclamations and resolutions, and Commissioner Miller's got several here this morning, so Commissioner Miller, if you'll take it from here.
Thank you, Judge, and good morning to the court. Again, I would like to thank the court for allowing the presentation of proclamations to organizations and members of the public on their special occasions. The first one, we're going to ask that it be a ratification. It's for Chi Eta Phi. It's a nursing sorority, and they are celebrating 25 years of being active in McLennan County. They picked up a copy for their souvenir book, so they get the souvenir book printed. But the presentation, actual presentation of the proclamation is going to be on September 2nd. The second one is a Mr. Rodney Earl Harris, and it's a proclamation honoring his retirement from Woodland Springs Nursing Home after 35 years of serving in that in the healthcare field. And that one was delivered to him at his celebration this past Sunday. The third one, D3, is a proclamation for the 15th pastoral installation at the Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. And I took that one to them on August the 13th. Dr. Gary Roberts is coming from, I think it's Etna, Texas, to McLennan County, and he'll be the 15th pastor at Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. And the last one that I'm really honored to present is for gospel great Kurt Carr. Some of you all, you've heard his music, just didn't realize maybe that it was him. But BMB Productions, Bridget Vargas, who works over at Truett Seminary, she is presenting him with a tribute concert that will be held this Saturday at a Second Missionary Baptist Church. And Mr. Carr is he's won the Gospel Stellar Awards. He's a Grammy, he's been nominated for several Grammys. He's been inducted into the Gospel Hall of Fame. He's worked with such people as Shirley Caesar, Reverend Shirley Caesar, Stevie Wonder. He is really kind of a high echelon when it comes to the music field. So it's going to be an honor to have him in McLennan County. And so that proclamation would be to just honor his coming to McLennan County and recognizing BMB Productions tribute concert.
Okay.
Those are the ones.
And so you would like to make a
Yes.
motion to approve D1 through D4?
Yes, sir. I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Have motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. I'd like to go to item F1. Dustin, if you would go over item F1 in regards to real estate right-of-ways and easements. And Dustin.
Yes, sir. So F1 is a discussion and/or action regarding a TxDOT sale of state-owned real property. This is Interstate Highway 35 and First Street, McLennan County surplus request in the city of Bruceville. So the county, we had presented this last time. We're trying to get some more information. The county does have a priority right on this property. Zane has helped and has found out that TxDOT is actually, they are selling the property. So then that triggers our right as a governmental entity to be notified in case we are interested in exercising our right to purchase this tract. But having visited with Commissioner Smith and Zane, I don't believe we have any interest in this. TxDOT is asking if we are not interested to go ahead and fill out a waiver of priority purchase right. And so I think that would be our recommendation, is that we are not interested in that. We return the waiver of priority purchase right by governmental entity.
Okay, any questions for Dustin on that? What's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve his recommendation, Dustin's recommendation.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. I'd like to go to item G2. G2 is regarding the service contract with Dunbar Armored Car.
And this contract was set to renew on September 30th. It did have a 60-day notice period, but there was an issue with Dunbar and Brinks in getting armored car pickup services recently. And so they have agreed to let us do to opt out of our contract with no penalty. And so, but it needed to be done at the end of last week. So that's why this is a ratification before you. And then next week we'll have a contract with a new company to bring forward. So we just need to ratify that contract termination with Dunbar Brinks.
All right, any questions?
Motion to approve G2. Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. So, I guess, we won't go over item, that Andrew Friedman will be presenting until he comes down with the rates. Is that right? And he's not
That's
here
right.
now.
And they're receiving those at 10. He called the office. He thinks he'll be ready to present by about 10:30 or so. So if we could just hold it for right now,
Yeah.
and we can go up
Yeah.
to the FY24 budget
All
discussion.
right, so that's exactly what we'll do. So Francis, if you would, go over FY24 budget items.
Okay, so today we have a few items need to circle back to in preparation for next week. And then we'll review the list of changes we've made to the proposed budget so far and have you vote on those. We haven't voted on them along the way, but it just helps us know that going into next week, we're all on the same page and know what changes have been made to that filed proposed budget. And then I'll just give you a short summary on where we're at, what the tax rate is, just some reminders. So again, next week, hopefully we'll go smooth and we'll all know what we're up against. But the first thing we need to come back to is a position in the pretrial services department. And Anna, are you on?
I'm on, Francis.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. This position was one of the last items we were still trying to work with the department and gathering more details of a function change. And so HR was able to confirm the additional functions that this position will be adopting. The position in question is position 1094. It's a pretrial service assistant position. And so the department added a clerk position that is able to support some of the more data entry functions that's currently performed by the pretrial service assistant, which means they'll have time to actually support the coordinator and their bond release duties. So this position will also now help support that position. This change in function does warrant a pay grade change to a B7. It is currently a B5 position. It would change to a B7. That would make it more in line with other court administrative assistant positions in other courts, and HR would recommend the requested salary, which is $52,303. It's currently budgeted at $49,978. And the salary would bring it also in line with positions of similar functions and pay grade.
Any questions?
I don't have a question well, it might be a question at the end of it. I remember we used to get the documentation when we did reclassifications. because it looks like when you present one recommendation, we just really see it kind of in a bowl. We don't see it in the context of the whole. And what can happen is when you do something over here, then all of a sudden it has a domino effect in other departments. Because I thought the whole purpose of the system and grade was for continuity throughout the county with those like positions.
Yes, ma'am, that would be kind of what the purpose of the structure is, which is why the need for the change, these additional functions would kind of put it at another level. And so we have the job description and kind of the outline of these additional functions that we can email to the court members to view. I could do that either now, if that's something you want to review before a decision is made.
I think I need to see it before I can make a decision.
So this brings it in line with other positions that we currently have in the county, is what you're saying? Is that what I heard you say, Anna?
Yes, so the position will help the pretrial service coordinator in their bail bond functions. And so this position will now help them in determining or taking some of that workload, which is determining when to release bond, which involves going through an entire checklist of requirements before releasing that bond. And so that workload is heavy right now on the coordinator, who's also responsible for the Judge Bain's docket for pretrial. And so just cross-training there to help better serve the department is what's happening.
Do we have to make the decision today? Because why are we just getting it now? I mean, we've gone 3 months through budget.
If I may say something about that. We did bring that up earlier, and the court asked for me to get with Anna about it and then come back.
Okay.
And it's when I presented that little sheet of paper to you that showed all the assistant court administrators and the assistant indigent defense coordinator, and how this would put the assistant pretrial services in line with all the other assistant administrators. And so that's what Anna and I did, and so we're coming back now.
Oh, you just finished up?
I'm sorry, what?
You just wrapped up? Just finished?
Yeah, it was
Yes,
several weeks ago that maybe a month ago, I don't know, it's been a while back when I first came, and then I think Judge Felton asked for us to get together on it some more, and we did, and now we're coming back.
And I'm sure the person I'm not saying it's not a right request, but what I am saying is I will get calls from other departments. And so I want to be able to have seen or some justification for why today I would say, yes, let's raise somebody up to another classification. Because I don't have anything in front of me.
We've received, we've received some of this information the first time through, right?
No.
Did we receive, when you brought it to us, you brought the justifications?
Well, just my
Request.
stating it right, my report. But
Right. And then Anna has followed up with it. And her recommendation is that it be moved to a 7?
which is
Yes, sir. That's the recommendation. And so some of the back kind of research and what we do is have several discussions trying to really break down every step of this additional function that's going to be taking place. And we're kind of just reviewing it from scratch. And so that has taken place. And so I have both kind of that step-by-step list of what's happening and then also the abbreviated version for the job description. And so I have both of those items that I can email to each court member.
Why don't you go ahead and do that? And Francis, what's our timeline to get this, make a decision on this?
So just adoption
29th.
next Tuesday, the 29th. So
9th, yeah,
if y'all
okay.
want to add something in next Tuesday, that is
All right.
okay.
Okay. And so Anna, if you want to send that out now, then if someone does want to bring it up before this court's over with, fine, but otherwise we'll wait till the 29th. That's for review the documents.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, do we need a motion to defer, or is this an action item?
No,
It's not an action item anyway.
You can just come back to it.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay. So the next thing on our list is to come back to our the retiree COLA conversation. So I passed out a spreadsheet, and I know it's a lot on one page, but we're going to pull it up on the screen to just kind of walk you through these scenarios. So the way we left it, we were looking at a 3% COLA for retirees. So this sheet, what I did along in the top section, there's the light green highlighted numbers, and those are if you did a 3% and you paid in lump sum payments, how that would affect your retirement rate going forward. So you'll see there, there's a scenario where we don't pay anything down as a lump sum payment, $1 million, $2 million, and then if we pay a little over $6 million, that is where, that would be all upfront cost. Then dropping down on that schedule, the dark green numbers at the bottom of each scenario, that's the addition, that's the cost. Again, these are based on estimates and TCRS estimates going forward for the next 15 years. But those would be the total cost over 15 years to pay out that COLA if you chose to do so. And so you can see how those change. Last week, I think it was last week, you had asked, if you put in $1 million, how does that compare to if you were to invest $1 million, we kept it in a CD or in text pool or text class. So again, hard to know, what things will look like for the next 15 years. But when I was looking at our average rate of return right now as of the end of June and just kind of looking at it over, what that may be, I come to a very, very similar number. You'll see the difference between if we didn't make a lump sum payment and we did make $1 million payment. That's a difference of about 1.8 million. And so just throwing some numbers around, I was coming to something similar. And I think it's important to remember that when you push money to TCRS like that, they are investing that as well. And so that becomes part of our pool there with them. And so it is being invested safely
So
with them.
at $1 million, it saves, what is it? 1.8?
1.8, yes, sir. Estimated.
Pretty good return
About
over
For
time.
for the first few years, it's about $100,000 savings, right? Give or take.
Yes. And so then, even dropping down further on that spreadsheet, you'll see there then what the actual adjustments to the 2024 budget would be for each of those. Because we're looking at calendar year versus fiscal year, and so just some intricacies there. But you can see how that would affect it next year.
And Commissioner Perry had a question on, rates, and you kind of comparing that, but as you said, it's hard to figure what's going to happen next 15 years.
What rate did you assume?
So
on our cash.
So our average rate of return is right under 4%, has been consistently this year. And that's a combination of all of our investments.
Text pool and the CDs and.
Yes, our federal
and
investments.
remember, we're pretty short term. And so actually, I think the yield, but we're in the inverted yield curve right now. So you don't have to go very far out past 3 years that it really starts nosediving down. So, I think I don't think it'd be any higher than what we're thinking right now. And we have lost a little bit of, I think the peaks were about 2 or 3 weeks ago on short term. It got like 5.25, something like that. I think it's under 5 now, but I think I saw it yesterday. Something like that. So
it's just, just up to you all if you do want to put some in, make a lump sum payment this year or not.
We did that last year, didn't we?
Last year we did not.
We did not?
No.
we did a couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago?
Yes, sir.
We've done $1 million or $2 million some years here and there over the last 10 years.
And I think those infusions really helped lessen the blow of the market.
Yes.
Yes.
to our rate
Yeah, I think you're right.
on, in 2022.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is whenever we're talking on the bond rating calls with Moody's or whoever we're talking to, that, you know, one of the concerns that a lot of these municipalities and counties have got themselves into is a lot of debt in the retirement side.
Yes.
And that they like to see entities that acknowledge that debt and continually working to pay it down. And we've done that. It's not every year, but when we can afford it. The reason why this year some money became available is because we figured out that we were probably overestimating the amount of money we would need on some of these road and bridge projects, that we couldn't actually use them this year. And the fact that with the industry growth and all that's just now coming out of the ground, the hotels, all those things, that our tax base ought to be in good shape again next year too. So if it wasn't, then you'd say, well, I don't know if I want to be, even though we get a good return on our investment, safety is more important, but I don't see that. I see that, you know, it's going to be another couple of years of pretty good growing tax base.
And I'm not sure what else we could do with it that would warrant that return.
Right. And the only other thing would be invested in short-term investments, and that's, you know, that's iffy. You know, it's a short-term cover for, you know, this is long-term.
I could support the pay down of the $1 million.
You have that sheet with the summary sheet that shows that amount. Yeah.
And I think to add on to what the judge was saying, while we get that pulled up, quick, sorry. Like he was saying, you know, that our pension liability, that plays into our net position. And so, like he said, you know, we learned this year that that's going to be analyzed more than just looking at our fund balance we have on hand. So that $1 million, $2 million, whatever it may be, pays that down and reduces that debt, increases our net position.
And that million comes out of that 3.8?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, paying down $1 million saves us $100,000 a year for several years there, and then it actually even more so. To me, that's a good investment.
So if we do that, then before we make that decision, do we look at what we do on COLA with the retirees, how that would affect?
So these figures are looking at using a 3%.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
But again, that was just where we left the conversation. So if you have other thoughts on that number, you know, just let me know.
Yeah.
I'm still comfortable with that number.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am this year.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
1 year at a time.
Correct, 1 year at a time, exactly.
Okay, sound like it.
So we'll do that with a $1 million lump sum. A couple other things we just want to bring up, just to keep the court in the know. You know, we have a lot of positions throughout the budget that are grant funded in some way. And so, you know, from year to year, grants can end, funding, you know, can decrease, funding can change. And so there are a few positions that we wanted to alert you to that are grant funded, that we have not received confirmation for that grant as of next year. And anybody, I don't know if.
Yeah.
If
So,
David was it here, if you wanted to speak on it.
good morning, Sheriff. Good morning. Captain Nixon, Chief, would one of y'all want to speak to this?
Yes, sir.
How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, Judge. Thank
Good.
you very much. And, Commissioners, good morning. As you probably know, Deputy Joe Scaramucci has taken a job in the private sector, and I think that takes effect on Wednesday. Y'all aware of that at all?
I hadn't heard that.
Okay. Anyway, I just want y'all to know that we're very proud of the job Joe has done with his human trafficking effort's been over the top. And he is going to continue working with the sheriff's office. He will be a reserve deputy. He will carry credentials as a deputy. He is committed to helping us with the, continue with the effort against human trafficking, to fight the pimps and the traffickers. So I just want y'all to know that we are going to continue this fight. We're going to continue this effort. We're never going to let up on these criminals that are involved in the human trafficking. And we will be continuing to work on a certain basis with Deputy Scaramucci. And we're behind him all the way. We're proud of him. He was made an offer, according to him, that he couldn't refuse, and he told me about it, and I think it is the right decision for him. I think any of us would probably make the same decision. It was quite an increase in a lot of ways. So anyway, I think we're lucky that to have had him as long as we have. We're still going to have him, and I want you all to know that. And depending on what happens, with other positions, we're going to continue the fight against human trafficking, and I can promise you that.
Okay. Well, first, extend our congratulations to Mr. Scaramucci, and we wish him the best. I knew when he became more famous that opportunities are going to come to him, and so I don't blame him. The issue is that this one grant that we have that is in his name, and so understanding that y'all want to continue the program, then we need to be sure that we continue, that there's funding available. And so whether it be a grant or we supplement that is kind of what's in front. So Francis, you might.
Yes, so there is a grant through the Office of the Governor that we currently receive, and it covers the full cost of 2 investigators and half of the grant manager. I'm not sure the exact title there. And so that's been a substantial funding source there for those 3 positions. There's also fringe taxes added on that run through that grant, and some other operating costs. And so because we're unsure if that grant funding will come through for next year, I know he spoke on the importance of that program, and we want to continue it. So we just want to make you aware that if for some reason the grant funding doesn't go through for next year, that you would still be in support of funding those positions in that program through the general fund. Those 3 positions, the current funding, the base salary is a little over $170,000. And so our hopes is that the Office of the Governor
Absolutely.
continues that funding, but if not, we would need to see, throughout the next fiscal year, I think waiting and using contingencies if needed, or finding lines that, may have excess funds at a point in the year. We can just increase the budget, but not really knowing if that grant funding is there or not. I feel like the best way would be just to know that we would use contingencies or excess funds at that time.
When you say all grants are kind of,
Well, that, yes,
Contingent upon-
whenever you approve a position and it's grant funded,
Yeah, I mean,
we're
yeah.
always in that position from year to year that could happen. But this one is substantial. So 2.5 positions that it's funding. And so just wanted to make you aware that need may arise this next year.
Well, the fact that there's, in McLennan County, there's numerous nonprofits and including churches and others that strongly support this program. And I think it's expected of us to help where we can and be sure that this program stays in. And the personnel that remains are very talented. And so what we'll do is we'll make them famous too. But that's what you want. You want people that other people want as well, part of their program. So I very much support, continue the support of this program, whether it takes local taxpayer money or grant money. That's money's significant, but the vision is insignificant. to the budget. We just need to do it, and so that's my thoughts on it.
And,
We appreciate, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just thinking, Sheriff, was McLennan County's kind of the incubator, aren't we, for human trafficking and the defense of it? And I don't remember anybody else pursuing it quite like you guys have.
It really was. It started actually back in 2014, about a year after I came in, and it just snowballed completely. We teamed up, as you know, with Unbound, and so that's been a tremendous effort. We can rescue these unfortunate men and women that are being trafficked, but we can't save them. Unbound steps in and saves them. So it's an incredible team effort. And we've been able to save and rescue hundreds of people that were in dire straits. And I want to thank the court for your support of this effort. And we had no idea, I had no idea what was going on here until we started looking at it and tried a few things, and these people came out of the woodwork, these traffickers and these sick people, for lack of a better term. And so we've hit them as hard as we can. I go out with our guys. I'm so proud of them, the way that they're working these stings. And we only started their first sting with 20 people. I called them weird sickos, and that kind of went nationwide. I didn't realize it, but all of a sudden, headlines were Texas Sheriff arrest 20 weird sickos. So it continued. Next time was we got 29 and 44, and then it got up to where we were catching 70 to 75 of these people for each operation that we had, which typically were about 3 months. So anyway, then, as you know, it became nationwide, a nationwide effort on the part of McLennan County. We ended up, just to give you some background, running search warrants with the New York Police Department on a case that started here and was so big it spilled over into other states and ended up with big traffickers out of New York. We also ran search warrants in Las Vegas with the Las Vegas police. Case started here, went into Austin, ended up in Las Vegas. So the effort on the part of McLennan County Sheriff's Office, not me, but our entire office, has been absolutely incredible. We've been invited, along with Unbound, to go to Mongolia and train the Mongolian police how to look for traffickers, how to deal with the traffickers and not arrest the women and victimize the people that are being trafficked twice. They're already victims. And so we've been in Poland, Moldova, Iraq, all over the country. And also our guys have been at several Super Bowls and the national champion baseball championships in Denver. So people recognize the effort on the part of McLennan County. And so I've just been extremely proud of that effort. And I want y'all to know that that is never going to stop. And we're going to continue that effort. And I appreciate y'all's help. I don't know how the grant will go, but I appreciate you making us aware of all that. But we want to continue the effort with our good officers that are out there on the front line. So thank y'all very much. Appreciate that.
Okay, if there's, if there's things we can do, and letters of support of those things, are working with our state senator or representatives to be sure this grant stays in place or gets it renewed, we'll do that as well.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Francis?
So then one last thing before we come back and kind of summarize everything. You know, I know there's been a lot of talk, and we've talked here and there each session on software needs, you know, for the jail, the sheriff, and then the DA and other offices. And so I know we're still, everyone's still looking into funding sources and how that's going to move forward. But I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything else that needed to be brought up today while we're here. If not, we can come back to that when
Those amounts are in the budget though, right? That we talked about
Yes,
for
yes,
those two different programs.
yes,
Okay.
yes. So,
Well, one was with the sheriff's department, and they're dedicating some of their forfeiture money
Right.
towards that. The DA, what we had asked is, I think Mr. Perry asked during the discussion on it, that if the DA can commit some of their discretionary money. Of course, it's their money to do what they choose to do with it. But, so, I'm not exactly sure if the DA would commit to any part of that cost of transition ongoing cost. And even if it's not as much as what we had expected, if there'd be a couple of year commitment or something. So those conversations, I just learned of this, so those conversations hadn't taken place.
Has the DA committed to the new system?
So, John, you had discussions with them, so is it that they'd like to do it, but they are not willing to put their discretionary funding in it, or what? Can you kind of bring us up to date on that?
Yes, so the way he stated it was, we're not ready to move unless we were to get some help or to understand a little bit better where the funding would come from.
And
Having,
that's exactly where we are.
the one point that I clarified from the few discussions we've had before is those one-time costs that we've discussed in here, they're not due up front. They are zero due up front to start the project, and then they would be paid according to milestones as they were hit. So those costs would be spread for us over a good year to a year and a half. So therefore, and that applies to each of these three sections we're talking about. So the DA's cost as well would be spread over more than likely a year and a half.
And do they know that?
Yes, I sent that, but he only learned that this morning and probably hadn't read that email when he talked to you earlier. So I don't know all the details, and Josh and I are due to talk a little bit later about this. So I may have more information for the court next week. I know it's getting close, but.
Okay, so, we are running against the deadline, so we need to get that resolved, and whether the court, I think the way we left it, the court wanted some kind of commitment, or at least some of the funding coming, from their discretionary fund, and so if it's not as much as what we thought, is there something we can do over a couple of years, or those kind of things? So we need to get those answered, and I'll be glad to visit with the DA after you do, or however you want to handle it, but time's short. And then the other point that you made several times, that the prices that were pitched out to you aren't, you plan on putting quite a bit of effort in negotiating those.
Yes, we've already brought it down again, actually, Judge. So we removed eDiscovery because they currently use discovery.com or evidence.com, I believe it is,
Yeah.
to get the evidence around between agencies. So we've removed those costs, and we've knocked off about another $81,000 total off of that cost that we saw last time with the court.
But, so that's removing a feature
Correct.
that had a cost with it, but also over the overall deal, do what you can to get that overall cost down, not counting the feature reductions or additions, but the program, I don't know if I'm
Yes.
explaining it right, but.
Yeah, well, those more than likely will be hammered out, if we are to go forward, it would be hammered out during the contract
Yeah.
portion of this. And then we could determine how much our IT department can handle, and then how much we would need them for.
Right,
So
okay.
there are some Again, these are all, I know I've said it a lot, but these are the absolute maximum costs we could incur.
Yeah.
We fully expect that to be lower than that.
Yeah, so,
We just, our squeeze in the budget time has got us before we could really get all those details down.
right, I understand that, so just do the best you can, and, you know, you want them feeling like it wasn't quite a good deal as they thought it was when it's done, but it's a good enough deal to go with, so. You can do it, I know you can do it.
Am I correct in that this program needs the DA's office to be part of it so that it'll work in its entirety? It doesn't work as well if they're not part of it. There'll be more work involved, or how do you?
Correct. I would say to a degree.
To a degree.
So yes, they can function without the DA coming on board this year. It would be a little more inefficient. It would cause us more work in the integrations between
The integration, that's what I was
Tyler and
talking about.
EDOC. And we would lose the promised roughly $136,000
it.
savings from doing them together.
Yeah,
Right, okay.
that's significant.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a significant amount.
Yeah, if the projects are done together, it just saves
Sure.
hours and time. And
Okay. Thank you.
This
other
is
questions?
something we can have on the agenda before we vote next Tuesday on our rate and budget, correct? Or how's that
Sure,
gonna
so we'll
work?
just continue budget workshops, and we can talk about it next Tuesday if more information is known then. And then when you adopt the budget, it's with the understanding, anything we talk about next week as well can be.
So clarification, Dustin, Francis, there's also a hearing scheduled, so that hearing, it's more appropriate for it to be after we're done with budget discussion, right? And we get ready to vote, because there's something may be learned if we choose to do something, move something in.
It's up
right?
to you. I think it's fine to have it first at
Okay.
9 o'clock,
All right.
the way the statute's written.
Yeah, Judge, it's posted for 9, so it's probably better to go ahead and do it at the 9 o'clock time.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
Thank you.
Just want to
Thank
make
you.
sure we had updates there if needed. Okay. And then stop me if we need to go back to the bond issuance.
Okay,
So now just to kind of come back to the amounts that we have amended in the proposed budget, and just to have you all, if we take a record vote on these, that will be best, so we can move into next week. So just walking down that list, so we decreased the transfer, and these are all things, I have the date there on when we talked about it. We decreased the transfer to juvenile. We were alerted that there was additional state funding they were going to receive. And so decreased the budget by that amount. We talked about that we balanced, or the sheriff's office balanced the two correctional facilities staff after some adjustments were made to vacant positions. So there was, just because of rounding, and there's just a $5 increase there, but just have to walk it forward. The next is the adjustment. We made some adjustments for balancing software cost between special revenue funds and general fund. We increased the budget for the treasurer's office, their travel reimbursement line. We increased the salary amounts for the positions that are titled crew member for Road and Bridge 2 and 4. And then after today's discussion, we increased the retirement rate going forward, starting January 1st, for the retiree COLA of 3%. So that amount up there is what that will roughly affect the general fund by. And then also the lump sum payment, the $1 million that will also come in addition. Next, debt service fund, of course, we're awaiting that decision, so nothing we need to do as of today. And then also the retirement change, it also affected the special revenue funds that house costs for personnel. So again, there's a change of that $1,837. So if you, if y'all would like to take a record vote on this
So
list.
we need a record vote on the proposed, on these changes right
Change
here.
the proposed. It doesn't mean that you can't still change it before we adopt on next Tuesday, but
any questions
Ask the
before we
process.
ask for a vote? What's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve.
Second.
Recommendation.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Pass.
Okay. So now we'll go back to our main summary page. I know we had it up here just a minute ago, but just to sum up where we are at. We added in that $1 million for the lump sum. Let's see. Do we want to go ahead and change that one? And we'll update this based on our decision. So with those decisions today, you'll see there we're ending with a fund balance of 51.7 million. That's 34.8%. If you take that as a percentage of our operating expenditures, about 2.7 over our fund balance goal. And so then just to remind you, again, you proposed the no new revenue rate, which was a tax rate of 0.329805. And that is, if you compare it to the current rate, it's about 4.7 cents less than last year, about 12.4% drop. If that rate is adopted, since 2016, you would have dropped the tax rate by 20 cents since 2016 tax rate. So that's about a little over 37% since 2016. And just to sum up a little bit about, what we've gone through these last couple months. So this budget, and of course, the tax rate funds multiple funds, but just honing in on general fund. So the operating expenditures in this year's budget compared to last year, it's about an $8.2 million increase. Revenues are about a $5.5 million increase. That increase in revenues is not any ad valorem taxes. So that increase is because of our increase in fines and fees and sales tax and other revenues that we are relying on to fund the budget. That increase, that 8.2 million increase from one year to the next, the highlights are that we added in a COLA for all employees and officials of 3.51%. You added 16 new personnel. So that was for law enforcement, for judicial functions, and for IT support. You also made adjustments, of course, to personnel based on HR's recommendations as well. We increased the county's portion of healthcare funding by 10% moving forward into next year. And then a lot of various changes to the budget, but I would say, I think, vaguely speaking, I think for the most part, all the other increases, they weren't because you added new things or new items, new programs. It was just to accommodate the growth that we're seeing, and then just the increase in cost. Right. You also made some increases to economic development pieces of the budget. And so, of course, those have an ROI impact that we'll see for years to come. And so just kind of summarizing what those big pieces were that went into these numbers up here.
Make it sound so simple.
Simple. It's very simple.
But we still ended the year with unassigned fund balance percentage over our policy that of 33.
Yes, sir.
By 1.8%.
Yes,
Right.
so that's our plan
Yeah.
if the budget was
Yeah.
to the penny, that's where we would.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay.
So any other item we want to talk or have questions about today? If not, we'll come back on Tuesday.
Any other questions or comments? Okay.
And then I'll just read, so next Tuesday, August 29th, 2023 at 9:00 a.m., there'll be a hearing on the budget in the Commissioner's courtroom. And then following the hearing, a vote will be taken on the budget and then following for the tax rate.
All right.
Okay. If that's at 9 o'clock, which is when we're posted for, I guess, when will we discuss the request from Judge Bain?
So we can have the hearing, you can have the hearing, and then we can just go immediately back into budget workshops. And so then we'll hit on those.
Before the vote?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And you can take your time. There's no
Right.
pressure to rush through that conversation.
Okay, we're waiting for Andrew Friedman to come down and give us a report on the bond sale So let's take a 5-minute recess, and then we'll come back, and that'll be the final item that we have.
I had a
Yes,
question,
ma'am,
though,
yeah.
Before we break. I know pretrial is coming back, but on next Tuesday, if you have any other departments that want to address the court on issues, can they still contact you or still be present on Tuesday?
Sure, and that's just, you know, up to you as a court if y'all are still wanting to hear. I don't think we have any other requests.
Well, I don't want to close the door. If we're letting people come back and say, hey, one more time on this, then any department can come and address the court?
Yes, and that's, again, your court session, so if you allow that, that is.
Okay, because because budget work session I thought was over. I don't say he can't come. I'm just saying if he's coming, then don't we have an open door for any department?
But wasn't this brought up during budget work session originally? And we're
I'm
just now-
saying of-
And we're
of
just
it.
now getting a result of it?
It was his original request, and then I
Right.
think it just
And
that
we're just
Anna
now
and
getting a
he
result
worked
of it.
through it,
And
so.
we know of nothing else that was brought up during budget work session.
There
we
have
haven't-
been some others.
That we haven't covered.
No, there have been some other departments that have come.
And that's up to y'all.
And I'm just
if y'all
saying,
want to.
if we're letting departments come back with additional information, and I'm not saying who they are because nobody's called me. I'm just saying on Tuesday, when he comes back, is that door open for any department that approached the court during this budget session to come back on Tuesday also?
Sure, until you adopt the budget. It's all budget workshops.
Okay.
That's just, I understand what you're saying. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, and you gotta be fair.
Okay. All right, let's take a 5-minute recess, and then we'll have Mr. Friedman come up and give us the news. All right? Thank you. call the court back in session. I'd like to go to items G under additional items for discussion and potential action. So Dustin, if you'll introduce G1.
Yes, sir. So item G1 is a consideration and approval of an order authorizing the issuance of McLennan County, Texas Combination Tax and Limited Pledge Revenue Certificates of Obligation Series 2023, providing for the payment of said certificates and related matters. I'd like to call on Andrew Friedman.
Good morning.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. My name's Andrew Friedman with Samco Capital Markets, along with Mark McCliney. I have the privilege of serving the county as financial advisor. What I passed out just a moment ago were the bid results for the county's certificates of obligation. We conducted a competitive pricing at 10 a.m. this morning. You'll see from the first page, the bid results, the county received 6 bids, with a best bid coming from Robert W. Baird and Company at a TIC, which stands for the true interest cost of this 20-year fixed rate financing at 4.15%. Received 5 bids in addition to that, ranging from 4.22% out to 4.37%. So we are pleased with the number of bidders that we received. We go through the competitive, we recommend the competitive pricing. Thank you very much. To help ensure that we get the lowest interest rates available in the market. And I think that's what we've achieved here this morning. We're 7 basis points better than the second place bid. So feel very good about Robert W. Baird's bid. The other attachments that I handed out to you all are the final numbers themselves. You'll see that the final par amount of the obligations will be $19,700,000. We'll receive a small amount of accrued interest, and we'll receive a cash premium of $649,000. That's money in addition to that helps to buy down the par amount of bonds while still putting the full $20 million into the county's project fund for these projects, and that money will also go to pay the costs of issuance and the underwriter's discount detailed there under the uses of funds. Behind that page, you'll see the final pricing that details the amortization of principal over 20 years, the coupon rates ranging from 5% down to about 4.25% in year 20, and the yields associated with each of those. The blend of those yields is how you come to the true interest cost of the financing. These will be callable at the county's option beginning June 1st, 2032. Callable at par without any penalty should interest rates be lower 10 years from now or 9 years from now. We'll be able to refund those for savings, or if for whatever reason we have cash available, want to pay them off early, we can do so at that time. All of our outstanding obligations have a similar call feature. Behind that is the semi-annual principal and interest repayment schedule between June 1st, 2024, which will be your first principal and interest payment, and final maturity on June 1st, 2043. The last attachment, and there's more numbers that I'll spare you from going through of that attachment. The last attachment is what we call the tax rate impact analysis, and that is what we're structuring these obligations against our certified 2023 taxable assessed values, as well as the other outstanding debt paid for from the county's interest and sinking tax levy to target the INS tax rate for the coming year, as well as project the impact in future years. We do that in an effort to manage the county's tax rate and ensure that with a conservative estimate for growth, the county's not borrowing money that will conceivably force it to levy a higher interest and sinking fund rate in future years. And this is structured such that in future years, your INS tax rate will be coming down, which will either allow you to lower that rate or fund future capital improvement projects at the court's direction. Went through the credit rating process as we do each year with Standard & Poor's. Call went very well. Judge Felton and Mr. Chapman were on that call, did an excellent job of sharing all the many big things that are going on in McLennan County. So that all went very well, and of course, maintaining that high credit rating is what allows us to generate so much interest in our bonds and obligations, helps us to lock in those attractive interest rates. Interest rates have obviously gone up since the last time we borrowed, and over the last couple of years, and over the last month, interest rates have been going up as the economy keeps turning out reports showing continued growth, and while inflation may be coming down a bit, I think the markets continue to be surprised by the resilience of the economy nationally, and that's forcing interest rates higher and higher. But feel good that we've locked in the best interest rates available today. So I'm happy to answer any and all questions that you have for me.
All right, any questions?
Oh, I did. Roughly in our last, what is the difference between our last issuance and?
I can look that up if you'll give me a moment. That one I don't have memorized from last year.
Double, more than double. I bet you. Reckon? Maybe
Well,
double.
so there's a certain floor on these, I know for, we were at the floor for so long.
Yeah.
So, am I correct about that?
What do you mean when you say floor?
Well, so, the interest rates were basically zero.
Oh,
since
from
two-
the
since
federal
2000
funds rate?
Since 2008, and
So
so.
it's just the cost of issuance is the
Yeah,
biggest impact.
So,
Which
Well,
is-
while the federal funds rate, that short-term borrowing rate was held close to zero,
Yeah.
of course, U.S. Treasury bonds trade higher
Right.
than that,
Yeah.
municipal bonds,
Yeah.
somewhere in between. I think at our lowest, and I, apologize, this has taken a little longer than, I don't know why my phone isn't cooperating here. We were certainly below 2%
Okay.
in 2021. I can pull up the exact rates if this will.
178, something like that. I was thinking something. If you look over, probably
Find
over
that sheet too, the
I've-
sheet from last year.
still historic.
So our
historical, like,
our financing 20-year financing last year, oh shoot, that wasn't a good, at a 359, so 3.59% compared to this
4-1.
415. And then 2021 will be when it was probably as good as it ever got.
yeah, back in 21.
And that was at a 1.75.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I hate
That was
looking
the-
back in
that-
time at
That's
those
the floor
numbers.
right there, that's.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Where the cost of issuance is the
Yeah.
highest impact.
Higher than that, yeah.
Okay. All right, any other questions, comments? All right, Dustin, if you'll describe what the motion, does it need to be specific, to selecting, Robert Baird and Company? Or just,
You can say that. You can also simply just move to approve the.
Okay.
Ordinance.
all right?
Judge, so that, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that motion, it'd be a motion to adopt the order authorizing the issuance of McLennan County, Texas Combination Tax and Limited Pledge Revenue Certificates of Obligation Series 2023.
Okay. All right, I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. And I've just got 2 things for you to sign. I don't know if y'all are concluding your meeting right now.
More than likely. Is there anything else to come before the court? Dustin, is there anything else? Francis?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right, if there's nothing else to come before the court, remember that 29th will be our last meeting pertaining to this budget. And we should nail it down. So, nothing else, we will stand adjourned.